The books is in. The books are in. Yep. They in. They're here.
Log in to KofiPaisaTV.com and get Spears of the Mossy Volume 1 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, from Spears the Pen Volume 2 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, Spiritual Combat Volume 3 by Kofi Paisa Research Team, One Night Before Bed by Any Harek Shun Calfunny, Kalawa's Trip to the Motherland by Kofi Paisa, From Cocaine to Consciousness by Any Harek Shun Calfunny, As I Learned, We All Learn by Kofi Paisa. Also, if you want fresh merch, go to our online store, Family Connect Apparel, and get all the brands. Also, get our 54 deck of quiz and educational cards, available now on KofiPaisaTV.com.
ETM Hotel, Rennie Sean, welcome in peace. My name is Sean. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into Science with Sean. I am here for a literature review regarding the Tuskegee experiment, what many know as the Tuskegee experiment. And I'm going to get into the actual title of the study, because we need to get out of the mind frame of microwaving the study. And we want to deal with a few things. But before I do that, of course, I want to share my screen. I want to kind of get this out the way. Then they may block us because of the reserving rights, but hopefully they don't, because I got another video that they didn't block. They just try to hold the rights to it. But anyway, Copyright Act. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Now that I kind of got that out of the way, I want to say what's up to everybody in the chat, those who are participating in the live stream, and those who will catch the replay, if anyone does catch the replay. So peace to Chavis, Blackwell, Omar, Teddy, Nunu, Juju, Double R, Pure, and a host of other people that may be tuning in as we go. Before we get started, though, I will open this thing up, man, but I do want to kind of get through a bunch of sources. It's kind of redundant, but I do want to kind of lay it out there for people who are very confused about the Tuskegee study. What up, Omar? And as you can see again, Brother Kofi, he ain't in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know he on vacation and all that, but he listening. But you see, he ain't in the chat, so, it goes to show what type of friend Kofi is, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm just playing. What up, Jeremy? What's good? Man, come on, like the show, share the show. For real. In all seriousness. Okay, so many of you are my Facebook friends, right? Those of you who are my Facebook friends, I put up a poll. I put up a poll on my day post, and I'm going to show it on the air. I'm gonna show it on the air. And what I'm gonna try to do is I need to I need to share this with the people who said no. I mean, who said yes. Uh, Just a second here. This is disturbing. Now, many people they didn't vote. They just looked and kept it going. You know what I'm saying? But that's typically expected because people don't want to. The participation rates are always low for those people. So, uh, well, I won't put the people names up, but out of the 16 people that voted, 11 people said no. 5 people said yes. And here's the question: what really happened during the Tuskegee study? Did they give the men syphilis? Now, 31% of the vote said yes. 69% of the vote said no. Now, I'm going to continue to allow the polling, right, to continue to go. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to take that away. I'm going to continue to let that polling strive and see what people are over time. But one of the reasons for the show is that, we've done this before. What up, Mongo? But Juju was real steadfast. What up, Alexander? Was persistent. She was persistent in trying to say that we need everybody on every platform talking about the Tuskegee study because Black people got it wrong. And what up, Jerome? I wish brother, who we missing? He might show up in the chat, but Charles, his grandparents was a part of that study. And I wish he was in the chat right now because he has information that would be valuable. My son is trying to FaceTime me, of course. Hold on one second, y'all. All right. So, nah, I ain't call you. All right. So, what up, Keenan? What up, Anita? What up? Everything is everything. But yeah, so people seem to have this thing all wrong, incorrect. And we need to talk about it. But we need to talk about it from a way that we actually can properly understand it. Now, Charles has sent a video or put a video up on Chill's post because Chill, said people are right now, they're Tuskegeeing themselves by not getting the vaccine. And people have taken offense to what Brother Chill has said. And he's being demonized by his own people in Cleveland for his public service announcement. and I just think that's wrong. However, many people don't know what happened at Tuskegee, and I keep saying that. I'm gonna keep stressing that they just don't know. They label it wrong, and then Charles put up a video of the Hidden Colors dude, and the Hidden Colors dude says that I think a part of his museum plans is to talk about the hidden story of the Tuskegee experiment, as he say. But he gave us a gist of that in one of his volumes, and a lot of people regurgitate that information from Hidden Colors. What up, Marlon? What up? What up? So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna do basically a literature review. We're gonna deal with some information, some people who are already familiar with what I've already done. On the Tuskegee, I already know like where we going with this, but I'm not gonna do the presentation that I did before. I'm not gonna do that. That's on the Master Warrior Clan, so I'm gonna leave that right there to be its own conversation. This is gonna be a whole nother discussion. And I'm not even using all the sources. I am going to refer back to the final report on Tuskegee, which was in the presentation. But I'm gonna go and show you some other information that hopefully that we can kind of deal with it from this perspective. Now again, this is Julanda. She's the reason for the presentation. I ain't got nothing to do with this. She provoked it. You know what I'm saying? She provoked it. Her and Brother Chill, they provoked it. All right. So hopefully the sister that I sent it to that just voted last, hopefully she's in the chat. I'm not gonna say her name or anything like that. I'm just gonna kind of keep that out there. But I hope that the sister's watching. Now again, I put the poll up. What really happened during the Tuskegee study? Did they give the men syphilis? 31% of the vote right now, because not everybody voted. 91 people viewed it, but only like 16 people voted, or 15 or something like that. So, 16 people voted. 31% of the vote says that they gave them syphilis. All right. So what I'm trying to show y'all right now is I asked a question. That's my research question. My research question is, did they give the men syphilis? That's the research question. So what we're going to do today in real time is we're going to set out to answer the research question. We're going to disregard previous research. We're going to deal specifically with some literature review, some studies. I'm even gonna let this weird dude talk on this thing real quick. I'm gonna give you a 2-minute video to get us going, and then we're gonna move forward. But see, Keenan, you didn't vote. You ain't my Facebook friend. At least I thought you was. You ain't vote. You know what I'm saying? You got to get out and vote, man. Nah. But let me go ahead and share my screen. I don't want to talk people to death. I want to get this information in, and hopefully we could like the show, share the show, and get our audience up. You know what I'm saying? Let's get our audience up, man. We about promoting truth, and that's what we setting out to do. All right. So I'm gonna keep it right here and do it like this right here. So give me a second.
They were told they'd get treated for their bad blood. Instead, hundreds of poor black men became participants unknowingly in a shocking and truly shameful chapter of American medical history. In 1932, the United States Public Health Service launched an unethical research project to examine the effects of untreated syphilis. The project was called the Tuskegee Study because it recruited 600 black men living in Tuskegee, Alabama. Researchers told the men that they were being treated for bad blood, a term used locally to describe anything from fatigue to anemia. They promised the men free medical treatment if they participated. While 2/3 of the men in the study were confirmed to have syphilis, not one received proper treatment for the disease they had contracted.
So this was a study in which there was no consent on the part of those who were being studied, also deception on the part of the U.S. government.
When penicillin became the recommended treatment for syphilis in the 1940s, Tuskegee researchers scandalously withheld the drug from the men in the study so that they could continue to chart the course of the disease when untreated. Many patients experienced damage to their vital organs and nervous systems. And for some, the lack of treatment led to death.
The great shame of the study is that the men thought that they were being treated. Treatment was withheld from them, even after it was very clear what kind of medical treatment would cure them of syphilis.
In 1972, an Associated Press article exposed the Tuskegee study after one of the participants brought the story to a civil rights attorney. Only then, after 40 years, was the study brought to an end. The case was settled out of court for $10 million.
This long history of medical experimentation on African Americans creates a sense of distrust. A distrust of doctors and physicians, a distrust of medical care.
In 1997, President Bill Clinton formally apologized to the victims of the study. The president's apology was a welcome first step, but we still have a long way to go before the legacy of mistrust of science within the Black community is fully overcome.
All right, so let's deal with this in its entirety. So what I want to do first now is pull up the AP because they were present. It was someone from the AP who was, closely tied into the actual conversation. All right, now I don't know why the image isn't showing, but that's fine. We really don't need it. So here's what happened. On July 25th of 1972, Associated Press reporter Jean Heller broke news that rocketed the American medical establishment. The federal government, she reported, had let hundreds of Black men in rural Alabama go untreated for syphilis for 40 years for research purposes. A public outcry ensued, and the Tuskegee syphilis study ended 3 months later. The men filed a lawsuit that resulted in a $9 million settlement, and then President Bill Clinton formally apologized years later. Still, the chilling effects of the study linger to this day. It's routinely cited as a reason some African Americans are reluctant to participate in medical research or even go to the doctor for routine checkups. I'm going to leave this right here. All right, so I'm going to go to a 4-page article. Hopefully people can see this. I don't know how well it'll show on your cell phone, but I know on your laptops or iPads or whatnot, it will show pretty decently. All right, so the title is called Effects of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male from 1932 to 1972. A closure comes to the Tuskegee study, 2004. It has 3 authors, Shamim Baker, Otis Brawley, and Leonard Marks. All right. They said it was a study that would do you good. That was from Ernest Hendon. He died in 2004. Well, yeah, he's no longer living, I think. But he was the last survivor of the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis. Now, when Ernest Hendon died in 2004, at the age of 96, a closure finally came to the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it is not called the Tuskegee experiment. It is called the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis, abbreviated as TSUS, of 1932 to 1972. Mr. Hendon, who was the last survivor of the TSUS, made the above remark shortly before his death, describing what he participated in a research project that nowadays, just a few decades later, is not even conceivable. Mr. Hendon's recent death occasions a retelling of his most infamous chapter in the history of American medicine. Awareness of TSUS, again, is called the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis, is important because the Tuskegee effect still impedes African American participation in medical research. Now, the study was officially titled The Effects of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male. It was sponsored by the U.S. Public Health Service and is believed to be the longest observational study ever conducted. The TSUS originated in 1929 when the USPHS began to review the high incidence of syphilis in the rural South and to explore the possibilities of mass treatment. During the 1920s, 36% of the 27,000 residents of Tuskegee and Macon County, Alabama, were infected with syphilis, giving this place a syphilis prevalence among the greatest in the United States. In addition, 82% of the Tuskegee residents were of African American descent. To Dr. Clark, a distinguished venereologist and chief of the USPHS Venereal Disease Division, Tuskegee thus had ideal properties. Now, the reason for the study, they were looking in areas, okay? We do know that there were 6 other areas that they were looking for, but they settled on Tuskegee because of the population and the amount of people who were 36% of the population was infected with AKA bad blood, right? So as from what we know now, the purpose was to go and do that. Was this the only study done? No, they did one over there in Ireland or something like that, among a bunch of Europeans. But let's get into the details. Now, here's a quote. It says, "As long as syphilis was so prevalent in Macon and most of the blacks were untreated throughout life, it seemed only natural that it would be valuable to observe the consequences. It was a ready-made situation, an unusual opportunity for classic study in nature that probably could not be duplicated anywhere else in the world. Syphilitic complications were widely considered to be influenced by race, i.e., neurosyphilis more common in whites, cardiovascular disease more common in blacks, and overall complications more common in whites than in blacks. Some studies of the day suggested that syphilis did not always need to be treated, that it could often remain quiescent, especially in blacks. Moreover, the treatments for syphilis during the 1920s, arsenophenamine, bismuth iodide, were an uncertain efficacy and were often painful, even deadly. Thus emerged various rationales for TSUS. A written protocol never existed. Ironically, an observational study of syphilis in whites living in Oslo, Norway, perhaps the stimulus for Dr. Clark's study, was halted in 1910 when arsenic therapy was discovered. Enrollment began in October 1932. Okay, organizations collaborating for decades in the study included the USPHS, Alabama Board of Health, Tuskegee Veteran Affairs Hospital, Andrew Hospital, and Tuskegee Institute. The 2 hospitals in Tuskegee Institute were African American institutions. The role of African American leaders, including physicians, in the study has been underemphasized. Many young African American nurses and doctors in the project, they participated, but hold on, cause my screen gonna mess up the document. All right, there we go. There you see it. Now, they participated, apparently bolstering their professional resumes by doing so. Let me get it back. There we go. All right, so I don't know why I split my page up, but I'm gonna do it like this because it'll be blurry. Now, here we are. We over here. That's where we are. All right, now to facilitate recruitment of African American, a 33-year-old African American nurse, Eunice Rivers, RN, was employed and assigned as a scientific assistant to the venereal disease program of Macon County Health Department. Nurse Rivers traveled within the community. visiting job sites, churches, barbershops, and social gatherings to solidify participation. For poor men in Macon County, an element of social prestige was conferred on them by their participation in the project and their association with Nurse Rivers. The TSUS was closely identified with her that it became known locally as Miss Rivers Study. The central role of Nurse Rivers in recruiting and retaining men for the study was the subject of the award-winning motion picture Miss Evers' Boys, which is filmed by HBO in 1997. If you get on demand, you actually can look up that Miss Evers' Boys and watch that TV show. Acknowledged by the producers as fiction based on fact. Now, men with positive serology were contacted, told that they had bad blood, and persuaded to participate by incentives such as free lunches, transportation, and medical care. Those were the three things that was offered the most. Now, and even life insurance, right? Or not life insurance, but money for their, for their transition in life. So like to pay for their burials and stuff like that. Now, those running the study clearly capitalize on the low educational and socioeconomical levels of the African American men and their willingness to participate. Now, without questioning, in a study that might help them, wrote one of the study physicians, we must remember we are dealing with a group of people who are illiterate, have no conception of time, and whose personal history is always indefinite. The concept of informed consent had not yet evolved. My bad. And no written permission was ever given by any of the participants. We're here. Now, more than 4,000 men were screened for tertiary syphilis to enroll 399 men. Men in the study received medical follow-up, physical examinations, blood tests, and lumbar punctures, but no specific treatment. The USPHS investigators informed the men that vitamins, tonics, and aspirins would help cure their bad blood, and that these treatments would be provided free in the study. In the first years of the project, a few men received sporadic treatment with arsenicals and bismuth. The main purpose of the project was to evaluate the extent of medical deterioration over time among a group of men untreated syphilis. Untreated syphilis. The original time frame of 6 to 8 months was found to be too brief to allow such an evaluation, and subsequently a decision was made to follow up each participant until his eventual death and post-mortem examination. Thus was the autopsy added as a final endpoint, and thus did the TSUS continue for 40 years, becoming the longest observational study in medical history. Please like the show, share the show. There's so many misconceptions surrounding the study of untreated syphilis that is crazy. Now, they conducted the study from 1933 to 1964. The study was modified in two important ways. Autopsies was added as an endpoint, and a control group of 201 non-syphilitic men. I'm going to say that again. The study was modified in two important ways. Autopsies was added as an endpoint, and control group of 201. All right, this is how you get your 600. You got 201 to 399. You got 399 men with syphilis, 201 men without syphilis. Most people who have propagated the Tuskegee experiment as a experiment that was around a bunch of men, 600 men, and all had syphilis would be incorrect. So let's pull apart some points here, some points of contention that we can clear up. One, we can no longer call it an experiment, right? Let's get that out of the way. We should never have called it that from the beginning. I don't know who propagated it, but we know people like Tariq Nasheed carried that forth. So you have the Tuskegee, you have the untreated, right? The untreated, that's what we're dealing with. The untreated, that's one point. right? You had 201 people who didn't have syphilis that was a part of the study. That's another point, right? Then, so they didn't give these people syphilis. So 31% of the people who voted who thought that they gave these people syphilis was incorrect. Because this whole thing starts from untreated syphilis, the study of untreated syphilis. All right. So I'm going to stop here because the rest of the article goes into the 40 years of study. You know, it talks about the burial and things of that nature that came out of that. And then the last page of this particular article are sources. So a little information here and then the sources. This page right here is dealing with, like I said, the apology, the aftermaths, and all of that. So I'm not trying to get into that. All right. I'm going to come to this next one. Okay. Can I zoom? Let's see. Hopefully I can get this right for y'all. Okay. Now, again, it says the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis. Remember, the abbreviation is TSUS. The Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis. All right. So I don't know if that looked blurry on your phones or anything like that. But like I said, we want to change the perspective. Now, this does the same thing as the previous article. It starts off the year 1963 marks the 30th year of the long-term evaluation in the effect of untreated syphilis. See, this is what I'm saying. They keep on, they're lining it up for you. All right. The year 1963 marks the 30th year of the long-term evaluation of the effect of untreated syphilis in the male Negro conducted by the Venereal Disease Branch, Communicable Disease Center, United States Public Health Service. And in this paper, in this 7-page paper, it summarizes information obtained in this study, well known as the Tuskegee study, from earlier publications, reviews the status of original study group, and reports the clinical and laboratory findings on those remaining participants who were examined in the 1963 evaluation. All right, it talks about the late 20s and 30s, how there was a high amount of syphilis in the South, all right, among the Negro population. Because of the lack of knowledge in the pathogenesis of syphilis, a long-term study of untreated syphilis was desirable in establishing a more knowledgeable syphilis control program. Before I go any further, Chill poses this question. He says, if you knew that they had a cure for syphilis back when this study had transpired and it was just in the next room, would you tell them to not get the treatment? If you knew that they had a cure for syphilis, would you tell these people to not get the cure for their issues? It's just one room away. It's a vaccine. It's a vaccine. It's next door. You know that it's a solution to the problem. Are you going to provoke these people to not take to not get the shot? All right. So not to regurgitate what we've already read when we set the agenda, I want to kind of get into the perspective of the study, which is right here. All right. Now, a prospective study was begun late in 1932 in Macon County, Alabama, rural area with a static population and a high rate of untreated syphilis. Now, this is telling us immediately that people were already infected with syphilis the town had a high percentage of syphilis. When we went back and looked at it, we saw them say 36% of the population of 27,000 people had syphilis. Okay, so they didn't give them syphilis. All right. Now, an untreated population such as this offered an unusual opportunity to follow and study the disease over a long period of time. In 1932, a total of 26% of the male population tested, who were 25 years of age or older, were serologically reactive for syphilis by at least two tests, usually on 2 occasions. The original study group was composed of 412 of these men who had received no therapy and who gave historical and laboratory evidence of syphilis, which had progressed beyond the infectious stages. A total of 204 men comparable in age and environment and judged by serology, history, and physical examination to be free of syphilis were selected to be in the control group. The first public findings in 1936 by Vandenleer showed that after infection of 15 years duration, only 1/4 of the untreated syphilitics were normal, and that most of the abnormal findings were in the cardiovascular system. Morbidity was noted to be approximately 4-fold greater in the cardiovascular and central nervous system, and the bone and joint systems of untreated syphilitics under the age of 40 and the controls of the same age. In the first complete reevaluation of these patients in 1938 and 39, it was found that many had received some therapy, usually only several injections or arsenic or mercury. However, a few, especially in the younger age group, had received more. Now, 14 young untreated syphilitics were added to the study to compensate for this. At this time, it was also discovered that 12 of the controls either had syphilis or had acquired it during the study. All right, so page 2 doing this. I hate when they're doing this. Now, here's the study results. And let me see if I can get it a little bit better because I'm not trying to do a split screen. Do it like it. My bad, y'all. All right, that should be better on everybody. Okay, so 1930 all age males and females, 3684, 40%, males and females over the age of 18, 22, males and females over 25, 1700, 26%. Now, where possible, these patients have been followed with periodic history, physical and laboratory examinations, including serology, electrocardiogram, chest x-rays, and urinalysis and autopsy. Mortality records during the first 12 years of observation, as a report by Heller and Brewer, revealed that 25% of the syphilitic and 14% of the controls of comparable ages had died. That calculated that an age of 25 untreated male syphilitics who had reduction in life expectancy of approximately 20%. So they calculated that at the age 25, untreated male syphilitics would have a reduction in life expectancy of approximately 20%. Like the show, share the show, family. Now, subscribe to the channel. By 1952, after 20 years of follow-up, 40% of the syphilitic and 27% of the controls had died by 52. Now, at this time, the life expectancy of individuals from age 25 to 50 with syphilis was determined to be reduced by 17%. 14% of the 159 syphilitics examined in 52 showed evidence of late syphilis, approximately half being of the cardiovascular system. From autopsy information available through 1952, it was calculated by Peters and Associates that a Negro male with untreated syphilis of more than 10 years duration and a sustained reactive serology would have approximately a 50-50 chance of having demonstrable cardiovascular involvement. Also, the primary cause of death in 30% of the infected group was attributed to syphilitic involvement of the cardiovascular or central nervous system. Reports on this study by Persayan, Orlowski, and co-workers have emphasized that an untreated syphilitic population had considerably greater morbidity and mortality than similar uninfected group until the age of 55. Now, an analysis in one of the most recent papers of the study showed that a small amount of treatment, between 3 to 20 arsenical injections given to patients with syphilis of less than 15 years duration, influenced the serological outcome. The report revealed that 27% of the patients with spontaneous serological reversal had some clinical manifestations of late syphilis. And it was estimated that after 30 years of untreated syphilis, less than 50% of those still living would have reactive contests. Further, it was demonstrated that 22 years follow-up that the treponema pallidum immobilization, the TPI test, showed no evidence of becoming non-reactive in untreated syphilis. Two other well-known studies dealing with the pathogenesis of syphilis should be mentioned. You have the one in 1929, and then there's which you could be seen from patients from the 1889 study and 1910. All right, I'm not going to get into those two studies. They were foreign to us, but they have their actual data. Okay. I'm gonna stop right there for that because that is key. I'm gonna come back to that. Now, what I just tried to do for everybody is to clearly clear up the misconception of what some call the Tuskegee experiment. You should know it as the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the male Negro. The Tuskegee study of, let me put it back on the screen because I see we got some people coming in here. So I just want to put it back on the screen so people will know exactly what we're talking about. We are talking about the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis. This is what the study is called, ladies and gentlemen. It's not called the Tuskegee experiment. It's not called the Tuskegee study. It's called the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis. They had a population of 27,000 people in Tuskegee. 36% of the population had syphilis. They conducted their studies or their observations there that led over 30 years, right? They went untreated. You had 399 men, or you could just say 400 men who had syphilis and 201 men that did not have syphilis. That was a part of the study, okay? That should give everybody a fair assessment. So the rejection of treatment was the issue in this use case. Now, the AP was significant here because one of the people who blew the whistle on the study contacted Gene Heller, who broke the study. Now, as you can see, it goes further into some things, and I'm not going to go too far into that. The sources, for anybody who want to grab something, the sources are in the description. So let's go to a scientific article and let's back it up. So I'm going to go to JAMA, Internal Medicine. All right, this was published, a commentary in March 13th in 2000, unraveling the Tuskegee, look at it, the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis. It's going to back up everything we basically said. 400 African-American men with syphilis, 200 African-American men without syphilis. The Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis is a topic domain in which includes not only medicine and research, but also the social and political sciences. In the popular press and medical literature, it is linked to discussion about the maternal infant transmission of human immunodeficiency virus or HIV trials in developing countries. So, they're dealing with all that. They're looking at, these studies in that way. But anyway, I don't want to get too far into that. I want to deal with the public health problem. Okay. This is from former Surgeon General Thomas Perrin, and from 36 to 48, provided the following definition of a public health problem. Whenever a disease is so widespread in the population, so serious in the effects, so costly in the treatment, that the individual unaided cannot cope with it himself. With this definition in mind, the immediate prior research events that contributed to the genesis of the TSUS will be briefly described. So they're going to go into a whole brief description. All right, in the 30s, the Rosenwald Memorial Fund, a Chicago-based philanthropic foundation, undertook that had not been performed before in America, a study of the prevalence of syphilis among African Americans. Now, the study was performed for the corporation of the USPHS. The purpose of the study was to determine the practicability of effectiveness of measures for mass control of syphilis. Here we go. Macon County, Alabama was one of 6 rural counties chosen for the study. The other counties were Albemarle County, Virginia, Pitt County, North Carolina, Bolivar County, Mississippi, Tipton County, Tennessee, and Glenn County, Georgia. Macon County was included because of its proximity to Tuskegee Institute and its hospital and John A. Andrew Hospital and the Tuskegee Veterans Administration Hospital, both African-American run institutions. The county and state health departments were also cooperative. So, ladies and gentlemen, this could be this study that transpired could really be the study of Tipton County, Tennessee, and not Tuskegee's study of untreated syphilis. It could be Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi. So I know you heard me mention 6 other places. I wanted to bring that to you so you'll have the 6 other places. So when we got people like Tariq Nasheed talking about the hidden story behind the Tuskegee experiment, there's no hidden story. All the information is out there. You just present stuff to a new crowd of people who never really heard anything, so you can misdirect the conversation and miseducate people. And then you want to put this up in the information, in a museum, and it's all incorrect information. So we want to address that, right? Because we want to make sure we're getting it right. Now, the reason why we want to make sure that we're getting it right is because we just had a married couple die from COVID 19 hours apart because they cited the Tuskegee experiment as a reason for rejecting the COVID-19 vaccine. So Black people rejected a vaccine and they caught COVID, and it ended their lives. They leave behind a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old. So you got a scientific study right here that deals with everything that we just mentioned. Like I said, this is redundant, but we have specifics here. Now, I was going to quote something from here, but I'm going to leave it right here because I just want to make sure that everybody know what it's called. The Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male. It's the same information. I leave these links for y'all to get this information out of that. And in respect to the people that was a part of that whole study, it is our job and our duty to make sure that we know their names. I'm going to say it again. It is our job, and I do that. If we going to botch this, we going to deal with it. So there's 65 stories from here right here, from Abner, Louis Emma, Ahmaud Arbery, all these different people, Breonna Taylor's, all these people that have died over the years. You can deal with them people and all of that, whether it's police brutality, Black Wall Street massacre, the Tuskegee experiment, all these things go into respect. But I put this up here because you want to know these people's names too. And from the last survivors, they have their names right here. Here go their names. So anytime we're dealing with an issue, we got to know what we're talking about. Now, I want to read something right here, this last part. It says the Tuskegee experiment was relatively recent and at least partially impacts the reactions to the current novel coronavirus pandemic. Black Americans have this recent example in addition to a long history of other examples explaining why it's reasonable to be suspicious of governmental medical information. But the governmental medical information is accurate. And we just had 2 people die from inaccurate information, prompted by a Hidden Colors DVD that took their lives. So what I'm gonna do real quick, and y'all know how I do real quick, is Okay. All right. So the sister asked me a question, right? She asked me, she said, where did they, right? The African Americans in Tuskegee. She said, where did they in Tuskegee get syphilis? Where did it come from? Right? That's what she asked me. And I answered her and I said they already had syphilis. So she wants to know, where did they get syphilis from? Her response is that somebody brought syphilis into the Black community. So let's look up what syphilis is. Let me get back to sharing my screen. Let's do a quick Google search and let's look up what syphilis is. Because we want to answer the question, right? So syphilis is a bacterial infection usually spread by sexual contact that starts as a painless sore. Syphilis develops in stages and symptoms vary with each stage. The first stage involves painless sore on the genitals, rectum, or mouth. After the initial sore heals, the second stage is characterized by a rash. Then there are no symptoms until the final stage, which occurs years later. This final stage can result in damage to the brain, nerves, eyes, heart. Syphilis is treated with penicillin. Sexual partners should be also treated. Now, let's look up the origins. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to join. Because I don't think they want to join, but they asking questions. All right. So we'll look here and see the origins of it. As y'all can already see where it's going. Let's deal with it. Now, syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease caused by Treponema pallidum, a bacterium classified under Spirochates phylum. Blah, blah, blah. Skip all of that good stuff. We'll go from there. Now, from the very beginning, syphilis has been stigmatized, disgraceful disease. Each country whose population was affected by the infection blamed the neighboring. So everybody's blaming other people. You got Italy, Germany, UK, French. They're naming all these Russia, all these European countries are naming them. You got the Turks coined the term Christian disease. So they called it a Christian disease. You got Indians blaming Muslims, the Hindus blame the Muslims, everybody blaming everybody. Now, the hypothesis of the origins is here. It's an old world disease and it came to the new world. Old world disease that came to the new world. So in Europe, most of these conditions were mistaken for leprosy, according to a hypothesis. Penta occurred in the Afro-Asian zone by 15,000 BC, having an animal reservoir. Yards appeared as a consequence emerged from the jaws by the selection of several the emergence of the endemic in Southwestern Asia. But you have people blaming other people for the spread of disease, which is a sexually transmitted disease, and it comes from Northern Africa and all of that. So that answers that question for the sister, but I don't know if she has any more. So let me go back and check my poll and see if we got any more votes. Nah, we still got the same amount of votes. But I did put the link in the chat. I don't know if anybody want to. Let me stop sharing my screen. Man, this is about y'all. It's not about me. I mean, this is information that I've known, that I've shared, that I've tried. What up, I'm biased. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to come and give people an opportunity to properly understand what the study was. It was not the Tuskegee part off my window. All right, then you got, he says, plus put their own spin on it for fear tactics. He says, I thought the Native Indians gave it to whites. Is Sean in and out, or is it just me? I could be in and out because I just got a little notification that I was in and out. So I could be in and out, bro. But I shouldn't be in and out for too long. But I put the link in the chat for anybody that want to join. What up, Juju?
Peace, fam.
What's good? What's going on? This is your topic. I mean, well, you wanted to talk about it, so.
Well, yes, I just wanted you to show the documents to the people and walk people through.
I left the document out, but go ahead.
Well, the original title, because everybody calls it the Tuskegee experiment, and it's not that. So the original title, so they can search for themselves, so they can also do their due diligence and their own little investigation, so they can see the progression, because you gave a lot of sources, and then you posted a lot of dates, so there can't be any misconstruing of the information. You know, clearly it says individuals were already infected a couple times at different dates, so they should be able to follow that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So they can understand how this quote unquote Tuskegee on trial experiment thing got all this life and wind, you know, because it's we're at a critical point. People really don't understand that this is a very critical point in human history with this pandemic. And because we rely on quote unquote common sense and not critical or logical thinking, because we are misconstrued and miseducated and misled, we are causing ourselves great harm. I am scared for the future. I'm not trying to panic, but I am a realist. And I always tell people, you need to look up the Spanish flu and the Black Plague and thank your ancestors, God, the universe, sun, moon, and the stars, whoever, that we do have science, innovative technology, that we have what we have now, that they didn't, and the majority of us can still be here. Because if this was 1908 and we still had this type of thinking, we still had, you know, this thought process, our actions, disregard for human life, even our families, because a lot of times it's just disregard. People just don't care. It would be bleak. Do you understand? Florida's back on my job just today insisted on a mandatory mask wearing requirement mandate. It's going back to what it was a year ago, and people don't see it. And I keep pushing that people educate themselves properly and just get vaccinated, and keep trying to push logical and critical thinking, and keep trying to remind them, like, the majority of you were vaccinated as a child. Y'all have no issues. Where is this stupidity coming from? I can't call it fear, because the bitch will go take drugs off the street and get all kind of medicinal herbs, ain't got no FDA approval, and won't bat an eye. So it can't be fear, it's stupidity. So yeah, I just wanted you to kind of, you know, show people that, walk them through it, show them the progression, how it gains so much life, so they can really understand what happened and stop being miseducated and stop letting the miseducation determine you know, their actions. Because we don't have no more time to waste. Sorry for rambling. Thank you. I appreciate it, Brother Sean. Thank you so much.
No problem. Now I got brother Unbiased on the panel. Go ahead, brother. Unmute yourself and introduce yourself, man, and rock out.
Yeah, peace, Yolanda and Sean.
Peace, Unbiased.
Okay.
Yes, clear, loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a good topic. Sean be having great topics. I love it. Straight informational, and I learn a lot. I stay watching the shows, you know, especially at work. That's when I'm watching. But it's frustrating, you know, when you listen to like black folks, you know, their ignorance and their just stubbornness when it comes to science. Like you can't really fake this. You can't make it up. You know, it's a real field of study. And it's just frustrating when you provide all the details, all the data, the scientific journals, the articles, and you sit there debunking their foolishness, and they still just go with, you know, their feelings, you know, in regards to this pandemic, you know, other things as well, but the pandemic, like we're currently living in it. We're trying to get to back to our regular lives. Most of us, not most, but a lot of us are vaccinated. We're well, we're safe, no side effects. So we're living proof, you know. We're like just us being here are debunking all the myths and the fallacies and the rumors, and they have no regard for that. They'll look for one person in the entire country that might have had severe side effect and say, "See, that's why." But they're going to disregard the millions of Americans who are vaccinated and safe.
Totally true. Totally true. It's just like the breakthrough infection. One person got a breakthrough infection, boy. They had a 24-hour or 72-hour news cycle about a breakthrough infection. Like you're not supposed to have breakthrough infections, right? When you're dealing with vaccines, no vaccine is 100% effective. However, the vaccines have been 100% effective against hospitalizations and 98% effective against death. I'm saying 98% because I'm leaving room. I can't say 100% against death. You know what I'm saying? Because you can have a breakthrough infection. A breakthrough infection can lead to potentially that in people 65 years and older. So I have to be specific. It is specifically breakthrough infection. For a breakthrough infection death, it is likely in the age group of 65 and older, and it's due to a weaker immune system and T and B cell memory loss. The immune system is just not trained at that age like it would be in a 20-year-old or a 10-year-old or 30, people that are much younger. But yeah, we do get it wrong at the title. So I wanted to make sure that we got it wrong at the title. We get it wrong at the title. We get it wrong at what actually transpired. We get it wrong at it. Just that stuff alone, man. Just knowing what transpired is wrong and knowing the title is wrong. It just makes everything else wrong because you had people and these people, and I think that these people who voted no on my poll, you know what I'm saying? These people have some level of education and understanding, but they don't have any understanding of what transpired in Tuskegee. They didn't know it was called the study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male. They had no idea of that. They just called it an experiment because that's what everybody deemed it. But then even with calling it an experiment, you thought that they gave them syphilis.
Right.
Now you're moving. Well, the sister that answered me, will ask me the question. She moved the goalpost and said, "Well, where did the syphilis come from?" So now we got to go to the origins of syphilis.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I can't tell you where syphilis comes from when we're talking about Tuskegee in 1932, right? And you have these army men. See, you have these army men, the Tuskegee Airmen, right? You have people who go off, come back from war, who fought in wars or things like that, who apparently was having sex, right? Come back in the community and they're infected. Nobody's infected them with anything. They already had the infection before the health services came there. The issue that we should have and we should be partaking in is the refusal of treatment, because that's what happened. So they refuse to treat these people. They refuse to treat these people, and then we get bigger issues out of that. And that's the problem that I have, is that we get all of that incorrect. So when Chill says you're Tuskegeeing yourself, he's telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that you are refusing to treat yourself now. It's no longer someone refusing to treat you. You're refusing to treat yourself, to prevent yourself from hospitalization and death. But I got brother Malcolm. My brother always, when it's time to roll, he show up. I got brother Malcolm on the panel, man. Peace to you, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna mute out, let you go ahead and rock out, man, and get it in.
Man, what's going on, man? Always good to hear your voice, brother. Stay going in, man. You are up. Boy, if it ain't the serial killer, it's Science with Sean. Man, y'all just be dropping some top knowledge, man. It bothers me that it ain't a million people in the chat. You know what I'm saying? And the topic you hitting on today, boy, you struck a nerve. Look, I'm at work. I said, man, fuck the hell with this. Let me hop on, man. But man, Chill. I bull crap you not, man. Read my mind. You think about the Tuskegee experiment and what really happened. African Americans at this point are Tuskegeeing themselves. You are absolutely right, man. And for the longest, I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna trip you out, man. It was actually the pseudo killer that made me realize that my perception of what I thought happened at the Tuskegee experiment, it was actually you guys that pointed out the flaws in my thinking in that particular scenario, because I had never read, and our community, man, pretty much, we kind of carry on some of our old African tradition, right? We oral traditions. We oral. Everything's word of mouth for us in many cases. And so it's easy for us to take what we hear and run with it. And this just happened to be one of those situations for me. So I studied it in depth, so much so, and thanks to you guys, that I even went to the OSO experiment. I think it's called the OSO experiment in Norwegian, the Norwegian experiment, where they did the syphilis study. Yeah, on the 2000 Europeans.
Oslo, yeah.
And then they double back, 5 to 10 years later in the 1932 experiment, and they, all the way up to 1947, where they did not give treatment to the guys. And hold on one second, trying to get me wrong.
Okay. All right. I wanna read the sister's response. And Juju, Bias, and brother Malcolm, I know you're working, but I know you listen. I know if you're trying to work and listen, you're multitasking. If you need me to repeat it, I can. So she says, I'm not disputing the fact that they had syphilis. My question is, where did it come from? Or better question, how did it get into our community? I'm sure you think my question is silly. However, many diseases were developed and then spread to the communities. I do understand that the disease originated from sheep or cattle. There was a doctor to whom, I forgot his name, was trying to develop disease just for us. I read about him a long time ago. So I think I might be breaking up on y'all. But I'm biased, so Jude, did I break up?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think they heard 90% of it.
Okay, so I want to say it again. It says, I'm not disputing the fact that they had syphilis. My question is, where did it come from? Or better question, how did it get into our community? I'm sure you think my question is silly. However, many diseases were developed and then spread to the communities. I I do understand that the disease originated from sheep and or cattle. There was a doctor to whom I forget his name was trying to develop disease just for us. I read about him a long time ago. All right, so let's deal with this unbiased and Juju. She says, um, she not disputing what I said, but she says, where did it come from? We answered that. Sex, right? We talked about the origins. Now, she says, I'm sure you think my question is silly. And then she says, uh, many diseases were developed and then spread. What do you think about that?
Yolanda, did you want to go? All right. So, the
I'm
question
sorry.
back. Oh, go ahead. So Sean had
My
read
bad.
Sean read a question from somebody that he wanted us to address.
My bad. I'm so confused. Please forgive me. Please repeat.
All right. So the sister says, I'm not disputing the fact that they had syphilis. My question is, where did it come from? Or better question, how did it get into our community? She says, I'm sure you think my question is silly. However, many diseases were developed and then spread to the communities. I do understand that the disease originated from sheep or cattle, but there was a doctor to whom I forget his name was trying to develop disease just for us. I read about him a long time ago. So what's your response to that? This is a sister now that's under the impression that they make diseases and then spread the diseases. That's not how that
Okay.
works.
My response one, as far as the doctor's name she can't remember, this is no judgment. But when you know better, you do better. Can't name a doctor. You can't really find a viable source. It's something that you remember from a long time ago. For me, I will also say, have you heard anything about it before besides people parakeeting or having the same disclosure? A lot of times I ask people like, do you have any other evidence? You have one source or one lead? You gotta give me like 5-10 references, because for most things factual, you have 5 or 10 references or multiple things to go to for it to be validated. Am I correct or not correct? Most things. So that kind of inquiry is problematic, and I would say forget all that. Like, I'm gonna ask her if she vaccinated, was she vaccinated as a child, and how's she feeling today? That's what I say to everybody who's hesitant. Was you vaccinated as a child? Probably yes. How you feeling today? You doing just fine, right? Make it make sense to me. Like, I have no understanding or capacity of understanding anymore. When you watch people you love die, and I know 2 couples who died. Like, get away from me. Like, it used to make me real angry when people say, "Oh, it's fake. That's not." Like, it would bring me to tears, because I was one of the first people that had multiple people dying around me, because I'm in Florida and they stupid as hell. The other thing is, the evidence is clear as day in front of you. All I can say, if you are, Black power, African centered, whatnot, that is me. Pan-African, self-proclaimed, Florida Geechee girl. I love my West African roots. I love being Black, whatever you want to call it. I claim an African American. Like, my ancestors were all about innovation. They were all about evolution. They were all about, what else can we do, create to, make life better, more sustainable, to evolve us, to go further, to thrive. We've always been about that. I was just talking to somebody today about my granny. She was born in 1918. She was always about, next generation doing better, being innovative, new creative ways of doing things. Like, my granny was into technology. Born in 1918, daughter of sharecroppers, went through the Great Depression, World War II, all that, So I don't understand why we trying to live, like Unc say, in the Stone Ages. Why are we trying to go back to that? Why are we trying to be cave dwellers again? I don't get it. It makes no sense. This is scientific, medical, technological innovation that Black African American people did have a hand in. Let's give them some credit. Let's give them a square to stand on. Let's give them some agency and show them support. I'm tired of people always saying, oh, that's, I'm going on a tangent because it makes me angry. It's emotional. But saying, oh, that's an agent. Oh, she the white man's puppet. Well, damn, how many Black doctors we got to go through before we can be like, oh, that's my man right there. That's my bro. He doing it for the Black people. I ain't heard that yet, bro. I have not heard that. So it's like on one end, you want to create doctors and lawyers and all this great stuff. Because I always say it. I don't want to see another rapper, a football player. I don't want to see another parent trying to support their child to aspire to that. That's what you do good. I'm not judging. What I'm saying is we done spent the last 25 years pushing that in the poorest Black communities. And we know damn well only 1% gonna make it to the pros. 1% other 1% gonna even last. Like, are you kidding me? So my advocacy has always been African-centered education for children, pushing STEM. I want engineers, scientists, archaeologists, anthropologists. That is what we need to create our own African agency. So we're pushing this idea, but now we have people coming through that are exemplifying this idea, and you niggas still ain't satisfied. We still gotta be the agent. White bruh, I'm so sick of it. I don't want to hear it no more. And like I'm working on my Iwa whatever, and I get real kind of like uncouth. So I'm just gonna be cussing people out. That's all they're gonna get. I like it's fun to me. Either way, this is what we're pushing. This is what we're pushing for our communities. If this is what we want, we have to have. We don't have to see. I was about to say have faith. That's stupid as fuck. This is science. We don't have to have faith. The evidence is there. It speaks for itself. What more do you want? But we definitely have to have faith in the individuals, Black African Americans like Dr. Kizzy Corbett and other doctors supporting innovation in science, medical technology. We have to support them because I feel like, I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent, but sometimes we turn our own into
you are
Sambos because we push them away. What you say?
I said you going off on a tangent. I was agreeing.
Either way, to the sister, the scientific empirical data is right there. Like, I don't know what more to tell you. You was vaccinated as a child, probably you're doing just fine. The data has proven to show that it saves lives. It's not taking lives. Any of the stuff that you're seeing that may have you hesitant.
She ain't saying nothing about COVID. She keeping it specifically about the Tuskegee. She's just unlearned about it. She think that somebody created syphilis. And
Okay, so diseases are zoonotic. Like, people got, oh goodness, it's a whole class. Like, most diseases that affect or are harmful to humans are animal derived. That's what zoonotic means. Majority of them. And how they get into the population, well, lots of ways, but a lot of times it's because we are so closely cohabited, maybe not we, but other cultures that we have come in contact with, so closely cohabited with these animals, and we contract these diseases. It's, I'm not, like, that was back then. It wouldn't make any sense for somebody created syphilis because that was then, and they really didn't have the scientific technology to kind of do that thing. Like, actually create a virus. We may have it now,
but they give white folks too much credit.
They give white folks way too much credit, bro. I say that all the time. I'm biased. That's my favorite phrase.
Yes, but then act like they're inferior.
But listen, like, that was the scientific technology like that. And we watch too much freaking sci-fi. People, stop watching sci-fi and thinking that's how it works. Like, actually pick up a molecular biology book. That's why I stopped watching TV, because it really, oh goodness, it makes you really weak and thin.
All right, so I'm biased. What's your answer to that question? If you need me to read again, let me know.
No,
thank you for letting me go off on a tangent.
Yeah,
yeah. So black allergy, right, is at the root of it, and the black allergy is not Black folks who love their culture and their race and Pan-Africanist blackology, in my definition, is a black person who believes it's like a white version of a Confederate person, right? That's a blackologist. They believe nobody did anything on this earth, but black folks did it all, and black folks can't get sick. So that's where it really starts right there. They believe black
Best
folks.
definition I've ever heard you give of blackology. I will agree to that. I'm biased.
Yeah, so that question, what I got from that question, that she kind of believed that black folks can't get sick, and when you just point out, Zelanda, that a lot of these viruses are zoonotic. Well, Africa and China, like, what country is more zoonotic than those? Like, mostly all the viruses come from Africa, from my research, Africa and China. So how did they get them? How did they get it? Well, I just read from the CDC website, and it says syphilis is transmitted by vaginal, anal, oral sex. So unless a white man is doing that to the brothers, I don't know how else that they could have got it. So it's some type of sexual activity.
But how
is
did the white man get it?
Right, right, exactly. So
exactly.
So my answer to how they got it is that they're not they're prone to disease like everybody else. Okay. And like Sean said, war, traveling, that's how disease are passed. That's how COVID got here, the travel thing. So that would be my guess. Is traveling, having sex with different people from different countries, and who knows how they got it. So,
and animals, come on, let's keep it 100.
Hold on. So okay, so let me just break down viruses, right? First of all, you have to have a virus transmit and create a disease. So
right.
when you understand that, then when you understand that, now you're telling me that people are making viruses and are intentionally putting them in certain communities. That's not how viruses work. That's not how
Oh,
viruses
wait a minute. She
exist.
said syphilis. Syphilis is not a virus.
Right. No. I'm saying specifically because I'm dealing with her in two areas, right? She's talking about a disease.
Right.
She's talking about many diseases, but she doesn't understand how diseases come to be.
Right.
Right.
I got you.
Now I'm saying I was giving her an example using HIV. That's the virus.
Right.
It causes AIDS, the disease.
Yep.
And that's a sexually transmitted situation there. That's a DNA virus, right? And then you have herpes that would be along those lines. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
the history of that. So people aren't making these viruses. They're just not. When you talk like that, you're really empowering the people over you. And I think both of y'all said that earlier. But go ahead about what syphilis is.
Yeah. So I got it from you, the definition you read, because when I was trying to explain how it got there, I kind of confused it with a virus briefly. Okay. So yes, that's not even a virus. That's I think bacteria. So that's something totally different. And I think that needs to be known first, to the people asking the question. I think they don't even know the difference between bacteria and a virus, to be honest. So there's a lot of education that need to be done to the people that's asking the question. And Zulanda said something that I agree with. I would ask too. When they ask me these questions, I kind of go off and ask them, "Well, have you been vaccinated recently?" Because that answer is pretty much their answer to that is pretty much going to let me know how well they will receive an answer with anything else. Because if they say no, now is why.
That's true. It's true. So yeah, like we're still at 31% of the vote. I just wanted to do a poll, right? Because I wanted to be scientific. I wanted to poll the people. I wanted to see who knows what. And if they participated in it, then, you know, for the people that did participate in it, a small percentage of people, you got like
What was
100
the
people
poll?
on it. Huh?
What was the poll? I didn't see it.
Oh, it's on my day post on Facebook. Um, I just put it up there so that people can go on there and poll it. And for those who paid attention to it, to poll it, answer the poll, and give me what their thoughts are, because you do have people who are under the impression that, you know what I'm saying, that they gave them syphilis.
Right.
And you have people that don't want to answer it because they might answer it wrong.
Okay. I got. Yeah. Well, I'm bro. Almost every person I ever told that it was not an injection, they damn near wanted to fight me. Like they was calling me coons, all because I said they were not injected. Almost. A matter of fact, guess what? I was listening to Tariq Nasheed last live, and he was mad at Roland Martin for and some black doctors, some black female doctor explaining that they were not injected, and he was shocked on his live to hear that they were not injected. He was in doubt a little bit. Then he actually considered it and said, "Well," he said, "Well, if they weren't injected, then that don't make it no better." So he wasn't even sure, and he called
Yeah,
himself a historian.
Oh
yeah,
wow.
but see, that's the thing, though. That's the thing, because he was about to. He's trying to tell the hidden story of the Tuskegee. As he said, the hidden story. Now, remember, you got
Right.
hidden color. Now you're gonna have
That's
the hidden story of the Tuskegee experiment, because that's what he's going to use. It's going to be clickbait. It's going to be all of that.
Right.
So heck
that's
yeah,
incredibly disturbing.
he's going to be on the live. He's going to be on the live, and yeah, he's not going to he's going to take offense to that. He's going to do that because his position is in his hidden colors. He
Yep.
came up. He came up off of misinforming people
Right.
because he just knew that they gave those brothers syphilis.
You know what? I will say this too. I found, and this is my opinion, but in doing research on it, I found that there was a group of people who were, and the word they use, I think, was infected with syphilis. In a Guatemalan study of about
Yeah. Yeah.
700
That's
men
actually
and
true.
women, and the same doctor that was involved in that was also involved in the syphilis study. So my opinion or guess is that people have kind of somehow, somewhere, these studies have converged, and people figured since he was the same doctor in both studies, they associated the syphilis study with them. Them being the ones that were giving the syphilis too. This is just my opinion. I ain't trying to get
Yeah,
nobody out,
but
but
Malcolm,
I wonder.
Malcolm, you're giving them too much
That's
credit.
excellent disclosure, though.
Right, but guess what? You're giving them too much credit. There's no way in hell they knew about that study. I did. So now that study came after the Tuskegee experiment.
Correct. That's correct.
Right. Yeah, that was afterwards. So, but it's no way that they knew that. But they might have known the doctor name that was involved. Now that might have been passed around, but black folks really don't know about that study.
About this study. Yeah. Now that syphilis, syphilis was just all over. Like it wasn't just the United States. So I don't understand a young lady thinking that they came up with some, viral or bacterial or parasitic infections and all that other stuff. Syphilis was everywhere. In fact, a book called Slavery Unseen, Slavery in Brazil, I think by Lamont Adu. I kind of use this book for a lot, but he got pretty good references in there. He talked about how syphilis was even a sign of masculinity. It was a sign that, hey, I'm having sex in some South American areas. In some of the some individuals in South America. So it was everywhere.
Right.
It wasn't just a United States thing that just happened to hit those people in Macon. You know what I'm saying? Like people having sex out here right out. Like you know what I'm saying? With no contraceptives and.
Right.
You got to remember, early 19th century, early 20th century, the lifespan was only 47 years old. So it was all types of stuff going on at the time. Sanitation issues and all type of infections. The yellow fever, right? kicking people behind. Prior to they had small. This stuff, zoonotic infections spread. Humans live in close quarters. You're gonna see more of it. In fact, I tell you, my personal thought is we're gonna see something more virulent and worse than coronavirus.
Don't say that. No.
I hate to be. It's just me. I'm not a virologist or not. I'm just saying based on my observation of the science, me knowing that the human population is growing, me knowing that we're currently pushing animals out of different habitats, right, or living closer to animals and even eating them, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be another deadly slow. And I just pray to God it ain't like the bubonic plague. Let me shut up.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I agree with you that we will see something because we were very unprepared for COVID when we should have been prepared because we had science, we had biologists and immunologists that were tracing coronavirus origins and doing that research and that study, and that stuff was halted once Obama left office. That program was halted for 4 years, and lo and behold, we have a coronavirus outbreak because scientists were trying to get ahead of the coronavirus, and it's unfortunate. And the outcomes of that is over 660, or how many other people, 660,000 people who lost their lives, and it could have been a lot more than that. Let's just say this. This is for the anti-vaxxers. Let's say we didn't get a vaccine when we did, right? Let's say they still working on a vaccine right now. How many more deaths do you think would be occurring right now if we didn't have a vaccine? We were averaging like 4,000 deaths a day or something crazy like that at one point. And then when it was going up, and then January it was 8,000, and then it was like 2,000 deaths a month. I mean, 2,000 deaths a month, or whatever was crazy from each state. It was something like that. It was crazy numbers to get us to 600,000. What I'm saying is, if we didn't have a vaccine as fast as we did, right? If we didn't have this vaccine, the death rate would be way higher. I know I'm breaking up again, but the death rate would be tremendously more. It would be doubled or tripled by now.
Okay.
And that's what I think people don't understand. So, I mean, I don't know if anybody else that's a segue. That's a segue now. So what I set up to do today was to bag Chill's statement up about Tuskegee and ourselves. The whole goal of today's presentation, well, not presentation, but literature review, was to back up Chill's Tuskegee and yourselves, to put that into context so that you would understand what he means when he says you are Tuskegeeing yourselves, meaning that you are refusing to prevent and treat yourselves from a novel virus. You are now refusing treatment.
Right.
They ain't got to do nothing to us no more. They ain't got to refuse us no treatment. We're refusing the treatment on our own. And now we have a different variant that's a lot more transmissible and more infectious. And it's to the point that the people that's been naturally infected, you're still on deck now. Because guess what? The reinfection rate in naturally infected people is going up. You come in contact with Delta, you will have a breakthrough reinfection. While you sitting there talking about a breakthrough vaccine infection, no, you're going to have a breakthrough reinfection. And you can have breakthrough reinfections from different variants because they don't look the same. The Delta variant, the spike on the Delta doesn't look the same. It's mutated and adapted. But y'all don't hear me though. But
we hear you, Sam.
yeah, man. So hopefully people, you know, subscribe to the channel, share the show. You can even use the old presentation that I did. They have a PowerPoint for children where they can learn about the Tuskegee study for children in school to teach them the right stuff so that they're not paired in the wrong information. And that's sad that they have to do that in order to properly educate folks. So now we adults, we need to go back and learn what children are learning and probably understand what's going on with the Tuskegee study. So I think we kind of cleared up all the misconceptions. I know we did, because a lot of misconceptions are in the title. A lot of misconceptions are in what actually transpired during that time. And, you know, people that are of the belief. So what instigated it all was Juju. I ran a poll. You know, I wanted to back up Chill. Juju said everybody should be talking about it. We've had these arguments with people on Facebook before, and they still get it wrong. You know, I polled the people. I gave everybody the opportunity who participated to vote on the poll. Some people did, some people didn't. For the people that did, out of that group of people, 31% of the people said that they gave them syphilis. That is a big problem. So maybe we poll next month, or somebody else can poll on their pages, and we can see, we can put those numbers together, and we can see how many people would vote and come up with a response, and see if that number decreases. It goes from 31% to maybe 10%, but however it goes, we need to be working toward reducing the amount of people who believe that they really gave somebody something. And that takes a cohesive effort from everybody affiliated in that conversation in order to make those things happen. Now, I know I might be competing with other people because I don't want to hold nobody up. I know that the pseudo killers alive right now. They doing a so-called recap. That's not nothing that that I'll probably be on the panel for.
Not interested.
You know what I mean? I ain't about to rehash. I'm not about to rehash Asar's presentation from last night, because he clearly defined things from the perspective that he took. And I would expect people that don't study Africa to take a totally different approach for the position that they want to hold in regard to that. And I'm not getting into that. You know what I'm saying? I'm only going to defend Africa. Period. I don't care nothing about nothing else. I'm only going to defend Africa on everything. So, you know, everybody else can get to putting too much on it. Me, Unc, and Ben, we had a nice conversation last night regarding, you know, regarding the follow-up to that discussion, the presentation. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to let Wujawu and Unc argue if that's the case. And, you know, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So on that note, man, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my evening. I guess I kick back and watch me a movie or something. Well, actually, I'm going to go back in and read my book and work on that. So on that note, I'm going to thank everybody for tuning in. Go over to Pseudo Killers, hop in their chat. I don't know if they're getting it live, but, you know, I'm pretty sure somebody going to be arguing for the night over. And I'm going to say Shimon Hotel.